I just want to say, in terms of FireCon, it is, to me, really incredible that they planned a con in months, pulled off a con in months, decided last minute to add an awards ceremony to it, had an awards ceremony without a hitch, and mailed their medallions to finalists before Hugo finalists got their pins.
Welcome to the Skiffy and Fanty Show, new, improved, and sexy AF.
Looking back at the trash fire that was 2020 and moving forward to the trash fire that is 2021.
But this one might smell nicer. You know, probably has some Werther's Originals in a tray somewhere.
Are you making fun of Biden's age? I'm just asking.
I'm making more fun of, he is from the era in which he would have Werther's Originals in his house.
That's, no, in his pocket, son.
That's right. He would bring them out. Would you like a caramel? Yeah. It's true. That's not wrong. Anyway, I'm Sean.
I'm Jen.
And today we're here with Brandon O'Brien, who you probably already know, but if you don't know him, you're going to get to know him because he's awesome. Hi, Brandon.
Hi. I just want to say upfront that maybe 2021 will not be a trash fire. I would like that a lot. Please, please. It's been a very long 4 centuries.
It definitely has. I'm going to be more hopeful and optimistic because it's not like we have a live event that Skiffy is doing very shortly with, in fact, the very same people that are on this podcast at this moment. Hello again, Brandon.
Hi, it's still me. I'm still here. Oh my god. I missed you both. I want it on the record that I missed you both.
I'm not going to speak for Sean. I definitely missed you.
We both love you, Brandon. You are delightful and wonderful. So our topic for today is pretty simple. It's what we do every single year. We're doing looking back, moving forward. So we're going to talk about the stuff that we're really excited about from the past year, and we're going to talk about the stuff we're really excited about this year. But before we get there, we have some announcement and goal things that we've got to get right to. And so, Jen, would you tell us what our 2 big goals are for the year?
That's right, nerds. Squad goals. First off, we want to get 50 iTunes reviews by the end of the year. We're at 28, so we need more. And that's up to you guys. There are more than enough of you out there, we think, to help us out with this and to get us there. So please go review us on iTunes. Thank you so much. Second goal, we want to get to $150 on Patreon. We're only about $50 away. And I'm pretty sure that if every one of you listening right this minute supported us at even $1 a month, we could get there. And maybe even get higher than there. But just FYI, if you support us at $1 a month, you'd get the Speculative Dispatch and a bunch of other free content because we're really bad at actually making people pay for things. Mostly prefer just giving it away. So treat yourself by treating us to one of your dollars a month.
All right, announcements. So there are 4 things that we're going to talk about for announcements. Normally, we usually tell you if there's a theme or something. There is no theme this year. This year, we're extending our focus and continuing some of what we started last year, which is going to be focusing on the contributions of Black, Indigenous, and people of color through both media and literature. And that's going to be our focus probably in perpetuity until, I don't know, we're like the only 2 white people left on Earth. And then I guess we might talk about white people things again. That's probably not going to happen, so I think we're pretty good. As always, that does mean that there's some exceptions. So like Torture Cinema and Into the Wardrobe still will kind of be wide-reaching. So this is probably not going to change all that much going forward. It's just going to be kind of our focus. We might expand a little bit to other non-dominant groups in the West outside of this, but that's going to be the focus. So expect that. Also, you might have heard there's brand new intro music. And I should say you might have heard, Brandon will have not heard this before we have recorded this. So to him, this is super shocking and surprising that there's totally new intro music. Not only is there new intro music, it's our own intro music. It's our precious. We
That's
hired
really cool.
the incomparable supreme commander of music, Holy Mole, aka musician extraordinaire. He created this music for us, and he did pretty darn good job, a bang up job. So if you want to support his work or possibly hire him for your own music projects, you can check him out at patreon.com/holymole. So awesome work. You'll be hearing that all year long, possibly forever. Who knows how long, or until again there's only Jen and I left on the earth, in which case we probably will stop making a podcast at that point. So
I just don't see the point of it then, you know.
we might just do a podcast just for Brandon, because Brandon will still be there.
Hopefully.
I mean, maybe we'll think about
Maybe.
it.
You'll think about it.
He might have gotten sick of us by that
No,
point.
no, that won't be it. I love you both very much.
We love you too.
Love you too, Brandon. And then number 3, new feature we're going to do this year. We have wanted to do this for a while, and we just have never committed to doing it proper. And that is, we would like to have an irregular listener mailbag episode this year. Our goal would be probably about 3, but we're willing to do more if you just send in so much stuff that we just have to talk about it. So right now, the easiest way to do this is to go to skiffyandfanty.com/listener suggestions. And there is a form there. You can submit suggestions, questions. If you have a comment about something we've said in an episode, you can do that as well. And then we'll collect a lot of those together, and we'll put together a listener mailbag episode. Again, regularly, just when we have kind of enough that fits into that. So we want to hear a lot from you. So please send those in, because otherwise you can't have a listener mailbag unless we hear from listeners.
Yeah, that would be tough.
Yeah, it'd be pretty hard. And then the last thing, it'd be really quick before we get into the main part of this show, which is there's probably going to be some changes to how we're handling our social media accounts, because we want to have more interaction with our listeners. And that we haven't quite sorted out exactly what that's going to look like. But, if you go to Twitter at Skiffy and Fanty, you'll find out about that eventually here. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we're doing on there. So that's basically it. All right, it's time for the main part of the show. So we're going to take a jump backwards in time, and we're going to start talking about some of the things that we loved from 2020, as we always do every year. And so because Brandon has not gotten to say much of anything, because Jen and I have been hogging this show, we are going to let Brandon tell us about the literature, media, and a random thing that he just really loved from 2020. So Brandon, the floor is yours. Tell us your stuffs.
I am going to start with the media thing, because it is one of the things that's been really kind of cool and mind-blowing for me in 2020, which isn't a perfect thing, but it is a cool thing, and I'm looking forward to it being perfect. But a handful of really cool things happened in the realm of tokusatsu. One of those things is that the original Kamen Rider series from the 1970s became available to watch on a streaming service called Tokushoutsu, which was really rad because it was the first time that Kamen Rider has ever been available with subtitles, with officially licensed subtitles in the US. And it was available on a streaming service that you could just put on your TV and watch whenever you wanted. Unfortunately, it wasn't available in Trinidad and Tobago, so I couldn't see it, which was kind of sucky. But I spent a lot of time telling people, hey, watch the thing, because maybe if it does well, they'll send it to other places. And people enjoyed that. It was, for a lot of people, the first time they've ever seen or heard of Kamen Rider. That increased the American sales of Kamen Rider toys. There's an entire grassroots fan group called Team Rider US that has been pushing for the wider availability of Kamen Rider merchandise in the US that really benefited from this push of the actual series. Then they bought the rights for another Kamen Rider series, which is Kamen Rider Kuga, that also came out in 2020. That was really cool. Still couldn't see it because it was only available in the US, but still very cool. And then around the same time, another very cool thing happened, which was Toei Productions, the company that owns the rights to Kamen Rider, made an entire YouTube channel in the middle of 2020 that has episodes of all of their old tokusatsu series, all of their old anime series, including some very niche stuff that I had never actually seen or heard of before. Like, did you know that the creator of Kamen Rider technically created the first live action Magical Girl series, a series that predates Sailor Moon?
What? What is this thing?
It's called La Belle Fille Masquée Poitrine. And you can see episodes of it on this YouTube channel, which is called Toei Tokusatsu World Official. But
That's
there's
awesome.
one downside. After the second episode of all of these series that they have on this YouTube channel, there are no more subtitles available.
No.
Which also sucks, because I was really into this thing and then I had to just like, I guess I just have to presume what's going on screen now. But the fact that they're still available is still very cool, because it means that they acknowledge that there is an international fan base and they're willing to accommodate that international fan base. Which led to another very interesting thing happening, which is another production company in Japan called Subaraya, which is the company that does Ultraman, also did a YouTube channel that also has all of their tokusatsu series on it, and all of those series have updated English subtitles. So you can watch Ultraman, you can watch the original Ultraman from like the 80s, I think it is. You can watch the original Gridman. That's really cool.
That is really cool.
The fact that they like are making those things available for a wider audience is a good sign that at some point we won't have to like fight to see these things. Because I've mentioned on Righteous Kicks before that technically if you want to follow along on this series, you have to maybe do some things that you shouldn't have to do. But maybe that will stop happening at some point and it will be easier for people to like not only legally source Kamen Rider series, but legally source Kamen Rider manga and Kamen Rider toys, and like actually buy a Kamen Rider transformation belt from like a game store, and, like literally put it on and do things. It would be really cool. And cooler things are happening in 2021 that I will mention at some point that Sean is already aware of.
I'm okay. Well, great. I will say that I loved listening to you guys, obviously, because you guys are great at talking to each other and have brilliant insights of the episodes that I was able to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so tough to watch them. So that is excellent, excellent news, because I really wanted to engage with Kamen Rider at a higher level, listening to you guys, and it was tough. So now, and I'm just going to sit here and ponder what that could possibly be that's coming in 2021.
That will come when we're looking forward, but I just want to highlight that will happen.
Looking forward. So I'm just going to sit here on my hands
and just wait for that
and
to
just
happen.
wait patiently.
Nope, Jen, because you spoke up, you get to tell us about your media thing. So congratulations, you have been voluntold.
So, my favorite media this thing was actually part media, part a thing. And that was watching 99% of Discovery Season 2 with Sean this year. And then stopping right before the season finale because I got injured to the point where I couldn't really keep doing it.
I mean, it's a likely excuse.
No, Discovery Season 2 was like, I really enjoyed Season 1, but it had issues. Discovery Season 2, up until the point we watched it, literally right before the finale, 2 episodes, was hands down one of the better directed science fiction series that I have ever seen. And the story was good. It was super solid and I incredibly enjoyed it. The scripts were phenomenal within that story, which is I think what elevated it, because the story was interesting, but it wasn't like The Expanse, which is fascinating. But within individual episodes, you had such phenomenal script writing and such incredible acting and directing moments that it all became just an incredible pleasure to watch. And I got to watch it with Duke, which made it like extra fun. Although I think I scared him a few times because I'd just be like cackling with glee when Georgiou did anything at all. Just cackling. I was really surprised that I loved Captain Pike as much as I did, especially his conversations about between sort of faith, philosophy, and science, and how he approached those vectors, and how the show finally started at least exploring some of the issues I have with the utopian vision of Star Trek, in that it is kind of shallow. Like, as much as I love the original Star Treks, well, not the original Star Trek, that one's just sexist as all freaking get out, and also so many other things that are bad. But even something like Next Generation, which I think is probably the best series overall from the earlier years, that utopic vision is just predicated on too many hand wavy, sort of unobtainium style things in terms of how society functions, the, post scarcity imagination that they are going with. Let's all be just hunky dory and be peaceful explorers all the time. Always rang like it's a hopeful vision, and for that I appreciate it, but it's also, like I said, it just hand waves so too much away in a way that I wanted to see more. I wanted to see more exploration. Maybe not when I was 6 originally watching some of the shows, it was just science fiction. But as I've gotten older, I want more nuance in my properties. And I think that's what Discovery, especially season 2, has really brought to the table. Season 1 was like, we're just going to war and it's terrible, but we're still going to pretend that we're the good guys. And then it was the examination of that, like, but maybe we're not the good guys, by the way. But there was still that sort of confidence in the we're the good guys. Season 2, there's less confidence in that, in a way that I'm very excited to see season 3. I don't know where it goes. Haven't watched it yet, obviously, because I didn't see the season finale of season 2. But I've been dying to watch it because there's a giant cat in it. And that makes everything better. But yeah, I'm going with Discovery season 2 and hanging out with my best bud.
Honestly, you have a much more rosy picture of what that experience was like than I do, because
well, there was sweat and tears as well, but
my goodness, because you're just like, oh, was this so great hanging with my bestie? I honestly, you twisted my arm to do that. I didn't want to do any of that. I wanted to watch Discovery, but I kept telling you I don't want to watch it with you, Jen.
Yeah,
I don't want to have to listen to you cackle anymore, or think about things, or tell me about how Enterprise is not as good as I think it is, or to tell me how Next Gen it's too utopian. And
I get what you're saying. And to be honest, my favorite part was always being right about what was happening.
You were wrong 92% of the time. I calculated everything you predicted. You predicted at one point that Georgiou was going to turn into a gerbil, and I told you that's impossible in Star Trek. I'm sorry. You spent literally 5 episodes like, this is the one, and then finally didn't happen. She didn't turn into a gerbil, Jen.
I think you're projecting here, because that sounds more like one of your theories.
I just want to say, as I think the only person in this call who has seen, as at this point, all 3 seasons of Discovery, season 2 is, how do I put it? Season 2 is not like perfect by any means, but in a lot of ways, a lot of what works about Discovery is that it not being perfect ends up saying a lot about the Federation in ways that I think are really engaging and really interesting, even when the act of watching it is often kind of not enjoyable. But season 2 is also a very good place to get into more of those questions taking place in season 3, which I will not spoil for you. But I'm very excited to see how this experience you have of season 2 shapes your experience of season 3 when you do get to that point, because I do have a lot of thoughts about Discovery.
100% agree with all of that. Yes.
So my media thing is really tied to the fact that last year I apparently discovered that I actually really like horror. Not just from watching it, although I've always kind of enjoyed horror films, like The Exorcist is one of my favorite films. It's actually the realization that I like writing horror, which is an odd thing that I didn't realize about myself. And so my media thing is actually that I subscribed to the service Shudder, which is a horror streaming service similar to Netflix, and basically consumed a metric fuck ton of horror films, both old and new, including some new stuff like Blood Quantum, which is fantastic. And so for me, it's been great to have, being stuck in my house and not being able to go anywhere for literally we're getting close to a year now when I've basically been in quarantine. Having this service so that I can get pretty ready access to a genre that I've been really appreciating and wanting to learn more about has been pretty positive and beneficial. Not under ideal circumstances, certainly, but at least it's a thing that exists. So it's great. Now I got Shudder. That's all I'm saying. It's like there's like a little glimmer, there's like a little grain of gold on the giant flaming turd trash bin.
Okay. I do actually, very idly, I guess I want to say, I think it's very interesting that out of nowhere, the form of catharsis that you found was horror in particular. Which is neither like, it's just a value neutral observation on its face, but also like there is something kind of really fulfilling and cathartic from like the witness of other people's like abject fear and frustration in a moment when you feel fear and frustration that you cannot express because it's technically still nebulous and waiting for you outside. So like I think it's actually really cool and interesting that you found an entire streaming service dedicated solely to horror. I would have thought there wasn't as much horror films in general to fill an entire streaming service, and you just proved me wrong.
You've never heard of Shudder, Brandon?
I have not. This is news to me.
Oh my God. It genuinely is an amazing service. And part of the reason that it came to like the awareness of the larger science fiction and fantasy community is that they carried Horror Noir, which was the Tananarive Due project, and many others talking about the history of Black film, Black horror specifically, and was fascinating. Well, Shudder decided to carry it and make it available to obviously all of it. I think it was actually free for a little while.
It was free for a while, and I think they were one of the companies that produced it.
Right, they did. They produced it, and it really kind of like hit my areas of interest because obviously Tanya Ransom with Nightlight Podcast, it was like she was all over that, and and therefore I was too. And one of the exciting films that I hope we actually get to cover this year was that I think they produced or they helped produce Indigenous horror production called Blood Quantum. And I am super looking forward to seeing that.
And I want to note they produce a lot of their own material.
They do.
They
and
really
it's
do.
a much more diverse field than the mainstream horror that we typically get out of Hollywood.
All right, so we're going to continue down the line here to go back to Brandon for one of the other categories, a literary thing or a random thing. You get to choose which direction we go, Brandon.
So I wanted to do a literature thing.
Yay, literature!
There's this book called Recognize Fascism. I think it's very important to check out a book that has the words recognize and fascism in it, because maybe people need to know what fascism looks like and how to not fall prey to it. I have a short story in this collection, obviously. It's edited by Crystal Huff. It has a great deal of other very astounding stories in it. All of the authors of which are not all necessarily from the US, which is also very important to let people know that there are shades of authoritarianism and tyranny that take place in other places of the world, and the perspectives of the people who live through those experiences are also valid. And I just think that it's really important for people to check out this book. I also think it's really important that one of the Kickstarter goals for this collection was that at a certain amount, the editor and the publisher agreed to mail one copy to every member of US Congress. So they should have those copies already by now, and I think that was rad. That they also thought that it was important to let politicians know that we are aware of some of the things that have been happening for the last 4 years, and we will be holding you to account because we want you to know that we have your office mailing address.
And oh, by the way, there's actually a story specifically about Josh Hawley in here, just in case, you couldn't recognize that he's a fascist. I'm kidding, there's not, but there might as well be.
I mean,
America.
So I would like to believe that if Hawley actually opened a copy of Recognized Fascism, he would stumble upon a certain page and go, that's very mean. Why did you say that about someone who is obviously not me?
That's so strange. Why do I recognize this person?
Why does this hurt so badly? Oh my god.
Let's hope.
That's my literature thing. It should be available for purchase right now. So if you want to read the thing, read the thing. I have a story in it called We All Know the Melody. I think I personally believe that my story is very cool, but I also personally believe that it is surrounded by other far cooler stories that you should also read.
I doubt they're far cooler.
Oh god.
Because you're pretty darn cool.
Thank
Just
you.
saying. You're welcome.
It's very sweet.
Is it my turn?
Yes, Jen, it is now your turn to tell us about a literature-y thingy thing.
A literature thingamajigajig thing. I am going with a book that we had the distinct pleasure of reading and interviewing the author of for the podcast. My pick is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This book was amazing. There was no part of this book that I wasn't both learning something and delighting in the world building and being surprised by the twists and turns and just utterly enjoying the character development, the mythology. It was genuinely pleasing to find such a masterful adaptation of Arthurian legend, and also a necessary correction to the myths white people tell themselves. For that, I just give it all the love in the world. And this was not a white story, which was the best part of it, by the way. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Tracy was a delight. Please go listen to the episode because she's beyond brilliant. And I just want to put this book into everybody's hands and say, this is a gift on every level of the meaning of the word gift.
So my literature book is from an author we also interviewed, hence a trend that you're noticing. And this is Ring Shout by P. Djeli Clark, which is a novella out from Tor. I don't know how to describe this except visionary.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most important novellas of the last decade. And it is currently in production to be made into, I believe, a TV series at this moment, a mini series of some description. I'm hoping that follows through because it does have somebody attached who is going to potentially act in it. I just love everything about this book. It's a lot of fun to read, right? It's sort of an urban fantasy kind of thing. It's got essentially almost like werewolf monsters who are called Ku Kluxes, who are evil and also come from potentially another dimension and all kinds of other things. But it's also got just this amazing cast of characters. Maurice is awesome. Her and her sword is fantastic. You've got the foul-mouthed sharpshooter and all of these figures. It's just really a lot of fun to read, but also its treatment of the whole sort of second coming of Birth of a Nation, the film, and placing that within the context of a fantasy in which, the Klan might actually try to end the world is just, I think, really poignant and really important. And I adore it just with every fiber. I love this. I don't even care what P. Djeli could just release a cookbook on how to cook leaves from your yard, and I would buy it at this point because it'll be brilliant. It's just a fantastic book.
It is.
I will always sing P. Djeli Clark's praises. I haven't read Ring Shout yet, but I've read literally everything else that he's written twice. I just have a lot of feelings about the fact that a writer with Trini roots is doing things that are this radical and this historically conscious and this historically critical, while also being riots to read. And I similarly would also like to be in a position to just like, I just want him to write as frequently as possible so I could just keep reading and never have to think about it ever again. It would be lovely, wouldn't it, to just stand out in the rain if the rain is just more words by P. Jelly Clock and just yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. All right,
Yes.
we gotta keep it moving forward. So,
Okay.
Brandon, you get to tell us your random thing that you appreciated from 2020. Go for it.
A random thing is another thing that I also have a thing in. There's this book called The Ultimate Micro RPG Book.
Oh, neat.
It has like 40 very interesting small role-playing games in it, each of which literally fit on one sheet of paper in the book. It's really cool and it's really neat. And I have a game in here that I think is really cool. A lot of my other designer friends have games in here that I think are really cool. Literally all you need to play any one of these things is literally like the book and some dice and maybe a deck of playing cards in some situations. I think there are some games here that require you to have like cooking ingredients and utensils for some strange reason. I can't recall, but like everything that you need to play a game in this book, you can have at home very idly. And it just you and your friends could just decide, I want to play a thing that I've never played before for like a handful of hours. And I think that this is a really good addition to whatever other games you already have on your shelves. And I think that you'd come across like some very interesting experiences as a result. As a designer, as someone who plays games, I think everyone should have a copy of the Ultimate Micro RPG book.
Brandon, I really don't appreciate your presence here today because I have just added 2 books.
I'm glad. Yes, my job is being fulfilled. I just need to put some other things on your Amazon cart and I'll be done for the evening.
Yes, absolutely. Please do.
All right, Jen, it goes over to you now. What is your random thing from 2020?
Well, I have a lot of random things because 2020 was indeed a year, but there were moments of relief in that year, including and pride because I moved my daughter just actually, no, that's this year already. That's 2021. Time, it is an illusion. Anyway,
Technically, 2021 doesn't start until Chinese New Year. So
that's okay. We'll
Yeah.
go with that
Yeah.
for sure. And in that case, I got to move my daughter out to New York City, and that was really cool. A thing that actually happened in 2020 was that we got to participate in Con Zealand Fringe, and even though Con Zealand sucked major monkey butts in so many ways.
As I can definitely attest.
Yes, Con Zealand Fringe was a remarkable effort of amazing people doing amazing things. And I got to do specifically the genre podcasts Beyond the Basics, which included Marguerite Kenner, Will Williams, Tanya Ransom, and C.L. Clark, who, by the way, has a book coming out called The Unbroken. You should totally buy it. It was just an incredible honor to be able to moderate a podcast between those amazing people. And Sean got to do a couple as well, and it was phenomenal. The whole experience was phenomenal, and I just was so impressed with the people who put it together, which included put together by Claire Rousseau, Adri Joy, The Middle Shelf, C at the Middle Shelf, Alistair Stewart, Marguerite Kenner, Cheryl Morgan, and the incredible Cassie Hart. All the videos are still available, so if you have a chance, you should go watch those panels because it was awesome.
Fringe was really
Nice.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Con Zealand Fringe for me is a very interesting kind of microcosmic example of how good fandom can be at its best. Because folks just decided, we should make content for people who wouldn't be available to see it otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just do the thing. And it just
Yeah.
happened.
Right. And I think it was an incredible model of how things like that can be done moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would add to this because my thing is also going to be a convention. something that kind of I think came out of 2020, which would have been nice if we could have figured it out outside of the context of a pandemic. But despite being a world full of super nerds who think about things set in the future, we seem oddly incapable of changing for it, which is ironic in a way that I think a lot of folks in this community don't quite get. The fact is, like, we did get to see a variety of virtual conventions, and we got to see some kind of doing it on the fly because, like, all of a sudden they had no choice, right? I'm not thinking Conzealand. I'm thinking there were a couple of others that, like, were, oh, well, suddenly we have to do it online. A lot of folks figuring out technology and blah 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 blah. And then you got the big ones who botched it, and then you got FiaCon, which is my random, which I consider to probably be one of the best conventions that has ever been put on, period, in any context. Now, to be fair, I've not been to a massive amount of conventions. I've been to like maybe a dozen in my entire life, including anime conventions, because I am also that nerd, Brandon. But FiaCon, I think, really heard what the community was saying about a lot of how conventions were operating and went, well, we're going to do it, as close to right as you could do it. FiaCon was not perfect, but I think as far as perfect could be, FiaCon achieved it. It is, it had its own programming meant for a more international audience. It had its own fringe, as it were. It had great and diverse programming involving, quite a wide variety of people. It had games, some really fun stuff that was involved. There was just kind of everything that you could want. It wasn't overwhelming, unlike something like, I felt like Conzealand was a little overwhelming because it was trying to still be regular Worldcon, but just online, and regular Worldcons are massive. I felt like FiaCon kind of really hit the mark and kind of set what I consider to be the standard that everybody is trying to reach now if you're doing a virtual convention. So I enjoyed FiaCon, even as somebody who was just there solely as a person just to watch, because FiaCon in a lot of ways was really, Jen and I attended. For us, it was very much about attending and listening to a lot of other people. There was a Discord, though, where you could interact. I met a lot of people from Discord. My D&D group is led by somebody who I met at FiaCon. So, yay. Yeah, so really, FiaCon's just great. That's just really what I'm getting down to. It's just fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah.
You gotta figure they've got an incredible team over there at Fia. So
They do.
Yes, they do.
Brandon being one of them, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yes, I was the first poetry editor of Fia. The team is incredible. I just want to say, in terms of FiaCon, it is, to me, really incredible that they planned a con in months, pulled off a con in months, decided last minute to add an awards ceremony to it, had an awards ceremony without a hitch, and mailed their medallions to finalists before Hugo finalists got their pins.
Have we even got our pins, Jen?
I never got a pin, I don't think.
I honestly don't remember if I ever received it. Probably not. They're probably never sending
Wow.
it to us because we caused trouble.
Oh God! I hope that's not the case. Good Lord!
In any case, yeah. So FiaCon, great, really fantastic.
Agreed.
All right. Now is the time when we move forward. We start thinking about what's to come this year. What are we looking forward to in the next year? And so, Brandon, we once again start with you, our very special, magical, amazing guest for this episode. What is the first thing you would like to share that you're excited about for this year?
The first thing that I would like to share that I'm excited about for 2021 is more tokusatsu things. Remember when I mentioned that Toei has their own YouTube channel where they put all of their anime and other tokusatsu things available for free, mostly without subtitles, for anyone to watch at any time? No Kamen Rider was there yet. They had everything else. They had a great deal of Ishinomori Shotaro's like comedy stuff and children's stuff. They had a great deal of anime. But on New Year's Day 2021, they announced that for the 50th anniversary of Kamen Rider, which is literally the day before my birthday, April 3rd, 2021, in order to celebrate this year as the 50th anniversary of Kamen Rider, they are making Kamen Rider available on the YouTube channel. It hasn't happened yet. I don't know when it's going to happen. It may happen in April, and I'm very excited to possibly wake up on my birthday and be able to watch the original 1971 Kamen Rider and have a lot of fun. And we still don't know what's the updated subtitle situation, and I hope that that gets better once they realize that people want to watch Kamen Rider. But the fact that it will be there is radical in its own right. In part because the announcement seems to imply that they're not just going to take like the original Showa era series from the 70s and the 80s, but they're going all the way down to recent series that are coming out this year. And that would be really cool. Like it is so cool that the fan sub community for Kamen Rider series literally had a debate at the beginning of the year that was like, is Kamen Rider going to go mainstream? Is it kind of poor form for us to release episodes for free when the company that produces it is going to put it out for free as well? Maybe we should not do the latest series because maybe we'll be out. So I'm really curious to see how it pans out. But I hope that it goes very well because again, my hope is that more people can watch Kamen Rider because I think that Kamen Rider is really rad. I think that especially right now, especially a lot of the series that have recently come out are really thoughtful, really critical kind of science fiction stuff, and I'd really like people to see it. And I hope that that goes well because it's the 50th anniversary of Kamen Rider. My favorite thing in the world is 50 years old, and I want other people to experience it.
I'm just glad it's not my 50th anniversary.
That's
Oh,
next. That's
Lord.
next year for you, Jen.
Hi, Tease. No, that is awesome, and it would be incredible to see shows like that go more mainstream because any additional science fiction is not a bad thing in my view, especially from a global perspective.
Sure.
And especially when the science fiction property in general teaches people that whenever tyranny stands in the way of you defending and securing the dignity of all people, maybe you should just kick it in the face hard enough until it explodes.
Yes. In tight pants.
In tight pants. Yep. Well, that is fantastic news. I'm very excited both for the thing so that I can more readily watch it, and also to watch your Twitter literally explode into squeeze when it finally happens, which will be very interesting because I, by the way, have been studying for the last year on how to speak Brandon Squee, which is a particular dialect. So,
yeah, there are some language fluctuations. Even I don't know the entire orthography; it just kind of comes out of me. But yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's jump over to Jen. We are on media. So, what is your media thing you're looking forward to this year, Jen?
My media thing is actually a graphic novel that is not at all science fiction related, but I'm super excited about it because it is a graphic novel, which I'm just saying counts. And that is a graphic novel called Wake: The Hidden History of Women-Led Slave Revolts. I'm not sure exactly when it's coming. Oh, it's coming out in June. This was actually kickstarted, if I remember correctly, written by Rebecca Hall and illustrated by Hugo Martinez. And I'm just going to read the blurb real quick. Part graphic novel, part memoir, Wake is an imaginative tour de force that tells the story of women-led slave revolts and chronicles scholar Rebecca Hall's efforts to uncover the truth about these women warriors who, until now, have been left out of the historical record. I'm excited about this because one of the things that 2020 did to a lot of us is make our general reading habits very difficult. And one of the podcasts that I edit at Book Riot is called For Real, and they do nonfiction. But they were having a lot of difficulty reading nonfiction. Like 2020 was the year of, oh my goodness, nonfiction. I don't want to read about reality right now. Or I need something that is a little bit, that is in a different form than what I usually consume because my brain can't handle the usual styles that I read. And they started talking pretty commonly about nonfiction graphic novels. And I'm excited about this as like in the broader sphere because there's a lot of nonfiction graphic novels that are coming out, have been coming out probably for a while, but this was not a thing that existed when I was young and first reading comic books and graphic novels. This was very much not a thing that was accessible. And graphic novels has always been, to me, one of the best places, the best ways and most enjoyable ways for me to engage with stories. There's a reason I love video games too. There's a reason I love movies. I mean, granted, I also love books, but I love engaging with things on a visual level as well as the written level. When I saw this one, it was like, oh my goodness, give it to me now. This looks incredible. And it's also, like it says, it's telling stories that we have not heard about to any extent, really, at all in the United States, for sure. And like I literally could not tell you a single woman that led a slave revolt. And that's some bullshit. So I'm excited to read this on a lot of different levels, not the least of which is it's incredible art and it sounds like an incredible story. Yeah, that's my media thing.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you, Jen, for telling us about that. I guess it comes to my turn for a media thing. I am going to get really dorky on y'all. And that is
Okay.
because this year, finally, there's a sequel to the greatest thing of my childhood of all time.
Coming to America?
The hell are you talking about?
Oh. Well, that's the thing that I'm most excited about
No.
from my
Wow.
childhood.
No, stop. Stop.
Wow.
Sorry.
Thing made for children, meant for children, not an Eddie Murphy almost rated R comedy.
That I watched at like the age of 10.
I know, this
I mean,
explains a
I'm just
lot about
saying.
why you're messed up, Jen. Come on.
It's so good.
Could you let me come on, you're ruining my moment.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go
Ruining it.
ahead. Go ahead.
Anyway, we're finally getting the sequel to Space Jam because this year releasing, we get Space Jam 2 with LeBron James, the GOAT. And let's just get it out of the way right now. It is going to be the most important film of 2021, period. I don't care if you agree with me. I see Jen right now is literally shaking her head. Don't care. You're wrong. This film is fantastic. I can already tell you now. I'm telling you my review right now. The film is fantastic. It is one of the greatest feel-good movies of the year. Everybody should see it. It needs to make $6 billion. I cannot wait for this film to come. Yeah.
I'm going to be real with you. I thought that was a rumor when I heard it the first time. I did not know that that was real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's because we're all amazed that it is real.
Space
But,
Jam 2.
you know,
Yeah, like you like someone sitting in a boardroom going, you know what the world needs? The 2020 has been a tough time for all of us. You know what the world needs?
Space Jam.
LeBron Space Jam. All right, cool.
It's gonna be
I'm
great.
for it. I mean, I'm going
Oh,
to
yeah.
watch it. I am
Yeah.
going to watch it.
I just watched the original, by the way, and still holds up. Still holds up. And actually, what's amusing to me is like, yeah, a lot of the basketball players in it, clearly they're not very good actors, but there are a couple that like have really good comedic timing, and it is really delightful to listen to them like run through these just really silly lines that they have to say, and I cannot wait for them to do the version of that with like LeBron James and any of the newer Steph Curry maybe will be in it. Like, come on, let's do it.
if Steph Curry is not in it, then I'm like boycotting.
I don't know if Steph Curry's in it. You could probably check the IMDb. But the point is, that's what I'm looking forward to. I cannot wait. And I don't care if anybody judges me for it because you can go to hell.
No judgment.
Not from you, listeners.
I mean, I'm just saying that clearly Coming to America 2 is the better choice here. But whatever.
Anyway, moving on. All right, Brandon, why don't you take us to literature? Give us your literature thing you're looking forward to this year.
The literature thing that I'm looking forward to would be, I think, of particular interest to Sean, because one of the last times that I have been on Skiffy and Fanty, we interviewed its author, Cadwell Turnbull. And I vaguely remember him mentioning, I'm working on a thing, and going, whatever the thing is, I don't care, you don't need to tell me anything about it, I'm definitely going to read the thing. Because after we read The Lesson, I've been thoroughly enamored. I think Cadwell's work is brilliant. I'm glad to see more Caribbean writers writing more science fiction that is very critical and very thoughtful and also very well read outside of the Caribbean. And in 2021, he has a new book coming out called No Gods, No Monsters, which just by the title, I'm already very intrigued by. And I'm definitely eager to get my hands on it. I may or may not have already pre-ordered it. If I have, I'm going to pre-order it again. If I haven't, I'm going to pre-order it because I'm just really excited to read more of Cadwell's work. I think is really dope. I'm really excited to see not only what this story tells, but if I recall correctly, this is supposed to be a part of a series, and I'm kind of really intrigued to see what it sets up and what world building exists in that space for that kind of setup. Because already in my head, based on the premise, I'm like already sold.
I am looking forward to the podcast interview that you and Sean
Oh
will
yeah,
be doing on
definitely,
that book
definitely,
because
definitely.
I am speaking it into the world. It will happen. I insist.
I'm definitely for it. Yes, please.
Well, so it's very curious, Brandon, that you mentioned, because my literature thing that I'm looking forward to this year is also a book that you have heard of and that you and I probably both are very invested in. It's this book by this author named Cadwell Turnbull called No Gods, No Monsters, which I
Oh,
think you've heard of.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard
and
of it. Yeah.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
I'm really excited to read that. Yeah.
yeah, me too. I am pretty excited. I'm glad that you've also heard of it because if not, you were going to hear about it now, and it'd been a very surprising moment for you. And I think Jen would agree that I think it goes without saying that we are going to try very much, you and I, to interview Cadwell about this book. I think Jen, I don't know how you really feel about this, Jen, because you've never told me that you want me to do this, but we're going to do an interview with Cadwell for this.
Yeah.
I have actually never heard of Cadwell Turnbull. What are you
I
talking
know
about?
it's so surprising.
Oh wow.
So surprising. This sounds intriguing. I think maybe we should do it. Yeah, no, obviously, literally it was when did we have our meeting? Like 2 days
And you
ago?
said this.
And I was like, Sean, did you know there's a new Cadwell Turnbull book coming out this year? And oh, by the way, you're going to interview him with Brandon again because yes, please.
I may or may not have already told Cadwell that at some point I do want to like talk about this book when it's out. So like, yeah, well, everything is already in place. It will happen.
It will happen. It will happen. I have spoken it. We have laid the groundwork. It is happening. You've heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
If Cadwell says no,
We're so
it's
screwed,
just
and
gonna
this whole
be-
podcast is going to be really awkward.
be a really bad look, but
I'm sure Sean like agrees with me after having read it and after having interviewed him that he's very adept at using very obvious, what would otherwise be very obvious science fiction tropes to have racialized and nationalized conversations and then going far deeper than what we had initially assumed. And I'm really excited to see how that goes from a like more monstrous set from a setting that has more like monstrous elements in it than alien elements. I'm curious to see precisely because the title is a reference to an old like anarchist slogan how that kind of how that kind of touches upon like capitalism and class because obviously those things are going to be tied into the question of whether someone is considered a kind of inferior community in society, and I just want to see monsters do cool shit.
I think that's another after effect of 2020.
Yeah.
Just a little bit maybe.
Just a little.
All right. Well, we're going to throw this over then to Jen because technically Brandon and I have gone and I refuse to change my answer. So,
Fair enough.
That is yes, agreed. So I almost put Cadwell's book, but then I was like, oh, except that there is another book coming out, and I have read every single one of their stories and novellas, and they just happen to be releasing their debut novel this year, which is Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon. So I will read the blurb because I just am going to read the blurb for you. Vern, 7 months pregnant and desperate to escape the strict religious compound where she was raised, flees for the shelter of the woods. There she gives birth to twins and plans to raise them far from the influence of the outside world. But even in the forest, Vern is a hunted woman. Forced to fight back against the community that refuses to let her go, She unleashes incredible brutality far beyond what a person should be capable of, her body racked by inexplicable and uncanny changes. To understand her metamorphosis and to protect her small family, Fern has to face the past and, more troublingly, the future outside the woods. Finding the truth will mean uncovering the secrets of the compound she fled, but also, and this is the clincher, the violent history in America that produced it. This is a gothic fiction. Here, monsters aren't just individuals, but entire nations. It is a searing, seminal book that marks the arrival of a bold and unignorable voice in American fiction. And I was like, bitches, they've been here this whole time. Where have you been? But this is a novel, so I'll allow it, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds
Yeah,
rad.
I am super excited to see another, well, a gothic fiction. Yes, please.
Mhm.
Like, seriously, when I read that, also the violent history in America that produced it, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be incredible. So
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, I agree with you that everything that Rivers Solomon has ever made is perfect or near perfect. Just the other day, they put out a tweet of a lullaby that they wrote idly. I was like, this is the best lullaby ever.
Oh my goodness, I need to go find
You
that
do.
now
It's
and read
rad.
it because it's probably amazing. Yes.
But also, the blurb of this book makes it sound like a black mother turns into Rambo, and I'm fully into that.
Please make
Just
that
a
a
little
thing.
bit.
All right. We gotta plow forward because otherwise we will be here for another 2 hours because
We're almost done.
we're
Yes.
almost there. So Brandon, we jump
Mhm.
to you for the random thing you're excited for in 2021. Go for
Right. So my random thing is also Kamen Rider related.
it.
It just kind of popped up a couple of months ago, and now I'm really, really excited about it. Which is, there is a graphic designer in Brighton, in the United Kingdom, who goes by the title of Bozo Robo. They're also a big Kamen Rider fan. Among other things, they're a very strong anti-fascist as well, which shows up in a lot of their work. If you've ever met me at a con, you have seen me wear a thing that Bozo Roba has designed, which is they have a series of pins of the first Kamen Rider protagonist of every series for every era in Japanese history that the Kamen Rider has been aired. That's they're the first Kamen Rider for the Showa era, Kamen Rider Kuga for the first of the Heisei era, and Kamen Rider 01 of the newly appointed Reiwa era. That series came out like last year, if I'm not mistaken. And the text on all of those pins reads, "This rider kicks fascists." I have all three of those pins. I literally gave away one of those pins to somebody who actually contributed to the Kickstarter for Recognize Fascism, because that's how much I care about not only Kamen Rider, but the idea that using whatever power that you have to literally combat fascism is a core tenet of the Kamen Rider franchise. The very first series is literally dedicated to defeating what is essentially mutant fascism. And Bozo Robo is now designing new pins. There's an Indiegogo out right now for a second updated art run of those pins that are going to be fully round. They're still enamel pins, still with a black metallic background, but instead of being jagged handwritten text around, it's supposed to be a completely new design, not only the text, but the artwork for the riders as well. I think they look really cool. And I also think that it's really important in the 2020s to wear obvious examples of how much you don't stand for fascism. And I think that if you stand against fascism, you should get these pins, even if you don't know what Kamen Rider is. Because maybe if you get the pins, it will also get you to watch Kamen Rider. A very positive experience in my life having worn those pins is that people go, "What's that?" And I introduce them to Kamen Rider, so there's that. But also, it's a very good indicator to everybody around me that I'm not going to stand for any action in my space that devalues the lives of others. And I think that if that if that also describes you, these pins are rad and you should contribute to the Indiegogo page as soon as possible, or wait for them to become available afterward for a normal retail sale and get one of those pins because they're going to look really cool.
Yeah, that's a yes from me, and I need the Punch Nazis one as well that Buzzerobo has.
Right, they have a Punch Nazis t-shirt. There is a Kick Nazis t-shirt and there is a Punch Nazis pin that is still in production that is just Kamen Rider Ichigo punching a Shocker combatant. It's very, very cool. I have that one as well. I use that one as a tie pin.
Nice.
Nice.
I love it. Love it.
Sounds awesome. That
It
sounds
does.
great. All right, Jen, we're gonna jump to you now. Give us your random thing.
So my random thing probably isn't so random, given that we are currently recording a podcast for the Skiffy and Fanty Show, and you are all listening to the Skiffy and Fanty Show podcast. I am actually really looking forward to some of the things that Sean and I are hopefully planning on doing this year. I say hopefully planning because it's still the 20s. Come on. That said, obviously one of those things was Brandon and Sean hopefully interviewing Cadwell Turnbull about No Gods, No Monsters. But in addition, I'm really looking forward to some of the pairings that we're hopefully going to start doing sooner rather than later between books and films. We have a couple of those planned, like Beloved and Beloved as just one example of that, because Beloved is one of my favorite books in the history of books. I wrote a paper on it in college because I loved it so much. I'm really looking forward to revisiting the book and revisiting the film. And I don't think Sean's actually seen the film at all. He didn't even know that there was one. So
I'm going to be real with you. I didn't know either.
oh my god, it's amazing. It's
Don't tell everybody what you think yet. Come on.
I'm not I was gonna tell you who's in it, but Oprah is in it.
Oprah's in it. Yeah.
Oprah's in it.
Okay.
Just FYI. She actually does a pretty incredible job. So I mean,
Oprah's
she's
not bad. Everybody gives Oprah a bad
no,
rap.
she's
but
an incredible.
doing good stuff.
She's a really good actress. So like, I will never argue with that. There's other issues with Oprah.
Sure.
Her acting is not one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, we went through a list of books and films that we are excited about talking about this year, and I'm not going to spoil what those things are because I'm not sure which ones we're specifically going to do this year and what we're going to do moving forward. But our focus on Black, Indigenous, people of color is something that I really am passionate about in all aspects of media, and I look forward to hopefully bringing that to our audience as well.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome. I'm not
Thank you.
looking forward to anything I'm doing with you, Jen, at all.
I know
Oh,
you
wow.
aren't,
Yeah.
but that's okay because you're stuck with me anyway.
I know. I can't even get away from you. You're like a wart. But you're just stuck with it. I could have you frozen and
Yes,
lopped
but
off, but
I am the funniest wart. I am the funniest wart that you've ever been stuck with.
that's true. I used to have warts as a kid, so I used to have those horrible freezing treatments as a kid. They're awful.
They are
They're
awful.
bad. And then I was put on a stomach ulcer medication, the side effect of which was combating the thing that was causing the warts. So not
Oh,
only
no.
did I not get stomach ulcers as a kid, I also got rid of warts.
Yay! Except for me.
Yeah, except for you. You're the
Wow,
one wart that no
wow.
medication can deal with.
wow.
I love you, Jen.
I love you too.
Okay, well, I guess I'll give you my last thing. And I unfortunately I'm going to cheat and I'm giving you two. And you're just gonna have to deal with this.
What?
Dude.
I wasn't allowed to.
I'm allowed two because one of them involves Brandon.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, see that
Okay.
it's in the bylaws. Check the bylaws for the Skiffy and Fanty show. It's under Article 13, Section C. It says anything involving
Mm.
Brandon is an acceptable exception to a rule involving numbers. Yeah. So
All right.
anyway,
I'll allow it.
so the thing that has to do with Brandon that I'm really excited about is a thing that's happening a little bit over a week from when this podcast theoretically is supposed to have dropped, which is Capricorn 41, of which Brandon is one of the guests of honor, and is going
All
to
right,
be.
I'm supposed to go to Capricorn.
Yeah, you're gonna
I
be
almost
busy.
forgot. Thanks for reminding me
You're welcome. 'Cause
that Capricorn was coming up soon.
you're gonna be busy.
Yes, indeed. I think I'm doing 10 things for Capricorn. I gave y'all a lot of things for me to do, and you said yes to all of them.
But the point is, so Brandon will be one of the guests of honor there, along with people like Michi Trota, John Jennings, Elliot de Baudard, Dr. Cacophony, and some. Is that everybody? I think it's everybody.
I think you've gotten everybody, yes.
Yeah. And it's going to be a really fantastic virtual convention this year. I've been going to Capricorn for several years now. It is a pretty solid little fan-oriented convention. And this year, I think it's going to be even better than previous years because we're just going to bang it out of the park because we're awesome.
Yeah.
So
I'm really glad that I get to attend virtually this year. I remember it would have been literally last year, in fact, that you asked me, hey, do you want to do Capricorn? And I was like, yeah, I would really like to. And things didn't fall through for me to actually attend. I hope that at some point I get to attend in person, but I'm still more than glad to be a part of Capricorn virtually.
me too, because I really would like to see you at more events because you're just a delight, Brandon.
As in more events than the number of events I already have planned.
Look,
But
you're a
yes,
busy
thank you.
man. You really are. But it's just
From the 4th to the 7th, every moment that I have after 3 p.m. EST is solely Capricorn content.
awesome. It's so great. So anyway, so that's my number one. Go to capricorn.org if you want to register and come check it out. I really hope you will come hang with all of us. We're doing a live skiffing fanty thing. The other thing that I will say, and Brandon will also appreciate this, but Jen won't because Jen is mean. And that is that this year I am working on an actual play podcast that will be coming out some point during summer that I'm working on with some friends. Brandon actually does some actual play work with Speculate.
I do.
Including very recently, very, very recently, I should say. So, and I know that Brandon's also very involved in TTRPGs. So I'm looking forward to doing this. It's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of work and a lot of weirdness. And we've never done it before, but we're going to do it.
I'm excited. Can you say anything about what game you're playing or what the sense of this story might be?
What I'll say is this. We're using, it's going to be a homebrewed version of Cyberpunk Red set in a somewhat near future cyberpunk solar system based world. I kind of describe it as it's like 1 part Blade Runner, 1 part The Expanse, and 1 part Mass Effect.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
I think it's going to be fun, but at least for making it, it's going to be fun. Or it'll be a total nightmare. Who knows?
I'm sure it will be fine.
And that's the real adventure.
It's discovering. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but no, it'll be really fun, and I'll, you'll hear about it if you follow me on the Twitters or whatever. Eventually, you'll find out what the heck's up. So yeah. All right. Well, I think we've done it, y'all.
Yes, it only took us a really long time.
A long time. An undisclosed number of hours.
Yeah.
So many.
So many, and I'm glad I'm still not editing.
Well, it's okay because I just delete your track out, so it's fine.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, that should shorten it by at least 90%, I'm sure.
It's just going to be Brandon and you haven't been on the podcast in 6 years, Jen.
I know,
I just edit around you.
I think it's actually been longer than 6 years, given the fact that 2020 was 10,000 years.
That's
so,
true. But in any case, Jen, you want to help lead us out?
So, before we head out, though, Brandon, could you please make sure that everybody knows where that they can find you and all of your things?
Hi, everybody. I'm Brandon O'Brien. I'm a writer, poet, and game designer from Trinidad and Tobago. I have a poetry collection coming out sometime in 2021. It's called Can You Sign My Tentacle? So if you're interested in reading poems about the gods of the Cthulhu mythos, asking various rappers and other Black musicians for their autographs, look out for that later this year. You can find me on almost all social media platforms at The Rising Tides. I also am the GM of two actual play series that take place on twitch.tv/Arvan Elleron, which is my friend Gregory Wilson's Twitch channel. One of which, Sound Clash the Clampdown, is an all BIPOC forged in the dark game of a game called Sound Clash, a game of music, magic, and sticking it to the industry, which is a game that I am presently designing. Which is not done yet, but will be done very soon. So I'd really like it if you checked out that series as well. And yeah, that's me for the most part.
That's
Awesome.
fantastic.
Well, thanks very much, Brandon, for being here with us for this episode. We were really stoked that you decided that you would want to join us. Thank you.
I missed you guys.
Missed you.
Of course,
We
I
miss
wanted
you
to be back.
too.
Miss you so much.
And this is where I say that at some point in the future, Righteous Kicks will return.
Yes.
Once 2021 stops being 2020 DLC Pack 2. We do definitely plan to return to more episodes of Righteous Kicks, where we will continue discussing the last section of Kamen Rider Forze, and then talk about all of the interesting developments that we've already discussed here about the availability of Kamen Rider, and even talk about more series. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
That sounds great. Well, if you want to find us, thanks listeners for being here as always. You can drop us a line. Please, again, go to skiffyandfanty.com/listener suggestions. Let us know your thoughts about stuff that we said in this episode, or throw questions at us or topics. You can email us at skiffyandfanty@gmail.com. You can also find us at Twitter at skiffyandfanty. And don't forget, we have awesome book reviews and other kinds of fantastic stuff at skiffyandfanty.com. And if you don't want to miss anything that we're all up to, sign up for the newsletter run by Stephen Geigen Miller at skiffyandfanty.com/newsletter. And as always, if you want to support the show and help us out, you can do so at patreon.com/skiffyandfanty. That's the best way to give us your hard-earned dollars, which we will promptly spend on alcohol. So yeah.
I mean, I don't really drink anymore, but you do you,
I
boo.
look, I've got debts. So I owe an alcohol shark.
In the meantime, Sean, where can people find you?
You can find me at SeanDuke.net or at Sean Duke on the Twitters, or on my fantastic, wonderful, joyful project, The Joy Factory, at patreon.com/thejoyfactory. And Jen, what about you?
And you can find me at Loopdeloo on every available social media site that I am not currently locked down on.
So, but in any case, folks, yeah, go follow us on all of the socials and everything. And thanks again, Brandon, for being here. Now I got to make this weird and awkward on the way out, because every episode has to end awkwardly. Jen, I just want...
I mean, you ending the episode is what makes it awkward.
Look,
Let's be honest.
Jen, I know you're upset that I haven't sent that little cup full of toenail clippings yet, but I'm sending it to you. I just need to find...
Oh, good.
I need to find some locals who are willing to donate toenails for you. So
Okay, good, because I need it to place a curse upon you.
I know, and you want really moldy toenails, and that's really hard to get right now because it's freezing cold and mold doesn't grow in ice. Okay,
Yes, but it grows in snow boots.
that is true. Which is why I've been sneaking into people's houses and culturing their snow boots with little swabs, cotton swabs, or whatever it is we're doing. And on that note, awkward
Ooh.
ending and scene.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
If you want to support this show, you can go to patreon.com/skiffyandfanty or skiffyandfanty.com, our website, where you can get access to all of our fancy things. Our music comes from Holy Mole. You can support him and his work at patreon.com/holymole. Thank you for listening.